Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Primetime News. Once again, we have important eBay and USPS updates to get to, plus some other interesting items. But first, I want to start off with an update to an important story that I brought to you last week. It turns out that this primetime crime story now has deep roots within eBay. All right, as you can see here from the title, eBay seller accused of running $1 million crime ring. Now, technically, we could call it a multi-million-dollar crime ring if you factor in that the amount of stolen retail items in this case is estimated to be $3.8 million. That number may sound familiar to you if you watched the prior news broadcast that I did, because I referenced that number with regards to a ringleader in New York State who was arrested along with about 40 other individuals and charged with this organized retail theft scheme. And at that time, what I was talking about was that they had this warehouse that they were running, and people could come in and basically shop a lot of this stolen merchandise. But then, after I did the news broadcast, I found out through this article from Ina Steiner at E-commerce Bytes that this person was actually running an eBay store and selling a lot of the stolen merchandise on there. Now, we're talking about a lot of money. I'll show you some of the numbers in a moment, but just if you're curious in terms of how this works, when you dig deep down into it, they basically had people who would do the thefts. They were known as runners. And let's say they went into Brooks Brothers. This is an actual example. And they would go in and they would steal a suit, and this would be a suit that they would eventually charge like over $2,000 for, and then they would pay the runner off like a fee. So $190 for stealing this 2,000 plus dollar suit. That's basically how it worked. And so in terms of eBay, we're talking, but in a 2.5 year period, so between August 8th, 2017 and January 7th, 2020, $1,373,728 in gross proceeds and over $1 million in net proceeds. It's just absolutely crazy. Some of the items stolen included Rolex watches, Gap jeans, Gucci sunglasses, a Fendi dress, a Louis Vuitton purses, leather jackets, cosmetics, boxed and roll-on perfumes, boxed chocolates, watches, assorted costume jewelry, and stolen drugstore items. And it just went on and on and on. It's crazy. All right, so this obviously is not good for all eBay sellers because it's just not fair for those of us who source our items honestly to be competing against people who steal their items. So I'm curious what you think in the comment section in terms of ways that eBay can crack down on this better in the future. And I know this is the type of thing that could get honest eBay sellers nervous, because the concern is that if eBay goes into some type of crackdown mode, then the risk is that honest sellers could get caught up in that, and some people's accounts could get banned for things that they didn't even do. So what I do know is that, and this comes from people who I know who've had accounts permanently banned, is that eBay does have ways that they search for abnormal transaction patterns, abnormal spikes in terms of sales. And I would just have to think, I don't have the data, but I would just have to think that for someone who is running a store like this with a group of other individuals that's based on stolen merchandise, and how we know in so many of these types of cases how greed comes in and they just keep trying to run things up more and more and more. And they were trying to expand. They wanted to get onto Amazon. They wanted to get onto Shopify. So there has to be something there. There has to be some red flag triggers that could be looked at and investigated to detect the people who are selling and dealing in an deceitful, illegal way on the platform. So that's what I am hoping that eBay could come up with in the future. I'm not suggesting that once someone hits a certain dollar amount on eBay that there should be some type of crackdown. But again, there has to be some a better look at the inner transaction metrics of these folks, and finding a way to catch them earlier. All right, now this is one of the most important stories I could pass on to you because it brings home the point that it is illegal to resell counterfeit items. I still have people to this day who tell me that they think that it is perfectly fine, that there's no problems with reselling counterfeit items as long as you let the buyer know that the items are counterfeit. And that is totally false. It doesn't matter if you tell the person it's counterfeit or not. It doesn't matter if you sell it online or offline. It is illegal to resell counterfeit items, period. Now, the reason for that is because you are still damaging the original authentic brand by selling off that counterfeit item. And the woman charged in this case from Ferndale, she's 42 years old. She had a store called Keeping Up with Kara, and she resold thousands of fake designer purses, wallets, and jewelry. She sourced these items from China and Hong Kong, and that's another point, is just because you're making a purchase online and you're getting the stuff from overseas, that doesn't change that these can be counterfeit fake items. And it's up to you to be able to know that and to figure that out. So if there's any doubt and you can't authenticate the items, then don't take the chance of selling it, especially if it's in high volume. That's your greatest chance of getting in trouble, is if you have high volume, like thousands of these things. So what are the consequences of this? 10 years in prison, up to 10 years in prison, and up to a $2 million fine. Now, I'm not saying she's going to get that full amount of punishment, but those are the stakes. It's very, very serious. Don't mess with counterfeits. All right, very important USPS update for those of you who sell used electronics that have lithium batteries in them. If you have anything like that to resell as of June 6th, you are going to have to mark the outside of the package as a restricted electronic device and surface transportation only. These could only ship ground, because there have been problems when these items have been shipped by air. So it could be dangerous. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. All right. Now, speaking of damaged items, eBay has now expanded its seller protection for damaged returns. Sellers with above standard seller ratings or higher will now be able to refund up to 50% of the value of the item for used or damaged returns. So the expansion is, this used to be something that was only a thing that top rated sellers can use. But now, if you have an above standard seller rating or better, you could use this. I have used this form of protection in the past. I even did a video on it. I could try and find it and link to it up top. But it involved a case where someone sent back a comic book to me, and they didn't put it in any type of protection. And when it got to me in the mail, it was, pretty much destroyed. There was no way I could resell it. So I was able to deduct up to 50% as a result of that, and at least kind of lessens some of the sting from that type of thing. All right. Now, if you were thinking of getting out of reselling because inflation is so high and you think people just aren't going to buy as much and there's just not going to be as many packages that get sent out, think again, because the US big four deliverers, so we're talking Amazon, USPS, UPS, and FedEx, they are delivering about 700 parcels every second as e-commerce continues to soar. They are estimating a continued growth between 5 and 10% through 2027. So we're talking 59 million parcel orders a day. So, I mean, that's just amazing. Now, also, what I found interesting in the article is the percentage of who has the biggest share when it comes to delivering packages. I think that most people would probably think it was USPS, but actually, UPS had the biggest share with 37%, then FedEx, 33%. USPS actually comes in third at 17%, and Amazon comes in after that at 12%. Now, speaking of USPS, they claim that they are ready for 50 million packages a day during peak season, we'll see what happens. They definitely have made some improvements to their logistics network. 49 processing annexes added, 13 million square feet of storage space added throughout the country. They leased 3,300 trailers to add to ground transportation capacity. And they've converted 63,000 pre career employees into career employees and hired more than 40,000 seasonal employees. So, those are impressive stats. They did good with delivering the COVID vaccines. That was something new that they had never done before, delivering that much stuff with such short notice. And by all accounts, they did pretty well with that. They did pretty well last year. I reported statistics on how well they delivered stuff on time during the winter. So I'm hopeful that this winter, we're going to have good results. I mean, talk is talk. They have to walk the walk. So let's see how they do, but they're talking it up as if they will be able to. All right, for those of you who sell on Amazon FBA, pay attention if you ship internationally, particularly to Canada and to Mexico, because Amazon announced that as of June 30th of this year, they are going to be increasing the fees. So just make sure you're paying attention to that because that's something you're going to want to account for in your business. All right, a few brief Etsy updates, and this one actually I'm going to link to eBay in an interesting way. They have this new seller app, so if you want to go download it, check it out. But it's in beta version, and what they're doing is they are asking people to give them feedback on the app before they actually release the official version to people. What a concept! What a concept. I hope eBay is listening to this because this is one of the biggest complaints that I and many other sellers have about eBay is that they will release these changes without getting adequate input from the grassroots. They might have a few people that they consult with on it, but I'm talking about something like this. Get grassroots feedback from sellers before you start making these widespread changes to the platform. My goodness, if they would just do that more, sellers would be so appreciative and actually would, I think, make a lot of the things that they want to do better if they just took even a fraction of seller input into account through such initiatives. So who knows? I mean, eBay does copy other platforms on things, so maybe they will here as well. We'll have to wait and see. All right, now Etsy has made a few changes to its star seller program after complaints from sellers on the program who've noted that Etsy has not provided the same type of customer service to sellers as they are demanding that sellers give to their buyers. So a few things changed with it. Number one, in terms of ratings, if you get a star rating of 4 as opposed to 5, that's not going to count against you in the way that it did in the past. So they're updating the criteria to a 4.8. This way, if you get a rating of a 4, that could still count more positively to your eligibility to be in the Star Seller program. So you don't have to feel like you're always limited to having to always get a 5. Also, they have decreased the time period that you have to respond to a buyer's messages. So now you're required to reply to initial messages from buyers within 24 hours on fewer threads. So they're making it easier because what they're doing is they're combining messages from the same buyer together. So that allows you to be able to respond in a more efficient way. And also, to qualify, you will need to have at least 5 orders, not 10. It used to be 10 within the 3-month review period to qualify for the program. But those orders will still need to total $300 before shipping and taxes. So that's going to help lower volume sellers who provide great customer service to still earn their way into the Star Seller program and get that badge. All right, and in our final story, if you happen to be in the Rockford, Illinois area, make sure you stop off at the new Goodwill that just opened there on June 2nd. This place is absolutely ginormous. We're talking 16,000 square feet of space. It's the biggest store in the state. I'm not sure where it fits nationwide in terms of size, but it's got to be up there. So I am sure that we are going to see some YouTube videos of some folks going in there and finding some amazing treasures, because there's no way that with all that square footage that they were able to pick out every treasure and send it off to Shop Goodwill. All right, everyone. Well, that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed all the different stories. Let me know which one you found to be the most interesting. Be sure to add your comments. I love hearing what you have to say about all these news videos. So I will see you around at the next one, everyone. And it's not super late at night, so I can finally throw my book again.